to deal with the atrocities and the injustices, the human rights injustices that we're being forced to deal with. And I just want to encourage everybody that whenever you're feeling that things are getting too difficult and heavy for you, to turn to these medicines and use them. And talk to your Creator and give thanks. And I'm shaking a little bit. It's been a really emotional morning for probably for all of us. And I'm hoping that as I go on, that these medicines will help me to settle down inside too. I'd like to acknowledge the great Ojibwe Nation, whose original territory we are gathered on today. Thank you to the Creator for bringing us together to honor our sisters in spirit and their families. Thank you to Barb, where are you, for opening this special ceremony for us. And thank you to Ana Los for organizing this vigil. I welcome the opportunity to honor the lives and spirits of the missing and murdered women and their families who have been so deeply impacted by their shocking losses. Sisters, aunties, nieces, daughters, mothers, and grandmothers whose hopes and dreams were stolen. We're gathered here today to honor them by remembering who they are and how and why they were victimized. And we want their families to know that we care about them and that they are not alone. In our traditional ways, our women are respected, valued, honored, and viewed as sacred human beings. They hold unique roles and responsibilities to their nations and to their Creator. And that too was stolen. The shocking high numbers of Aboriginal women and girls who have gone missing or been murdered in Canada has been well documented. Some targeted hotspots in the areas in this country are Vancouver, Edmonton, Regina, Calgary, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Thunder Bay, and more recently we're hearing about more incidents in Eastern Canada, Ottawa, New Brunswick, up in Inuit territory, in Labrador. Systemic causes deeply rooted in European colonization are at the heart of this most devastating and demoralizing kind of violence that has been perpetrated regularly against our women, primarily by white men. This racialized and sexualized violence is a crime that targets Aboriginal women for no other reason than that they are Aboriginal and that they are women. Government policies have pushed Aboriginal women into dangerous situations. They were suppressed, oppressed, and depressed. The attitudes and treatment white men used to subjugate white women shifted to our women, displacing and dispossessing them from their positions of power and influence. At the National Aboriginal Women's Summit this past spring, the Native Women's Association of Canada submitted a report stating that Aboriginal women experience extreme marginalization and suffer from inequalities related to their social, economic, cultural, political, and civil rights that breed violence, such as post-colonial structural inequalities, family violence, racialized and sexualized violence, gender violence, poverty, lack of access to adequate housing, including the lack of access to matrimonial property rights. Lack of justice, low education and employment rates, low health status, and little or no political participation. Some progress was made when the Government of Canada signed a 5-year Sisters in Spirit contribution agreement with NWAC in 2005. The goal of that agreement is to improve the human rights of Aboriginal women and to address the violence. Canada can be commended for that, but it's not enough. It is deeply concerning that despite acknowledging the shameful conditions Aboriginal women are forced to endure, and despite public outcries, the Canadian government has failed Aboriginal women by allowing these situations to continue. several international human rights standards that are relevant to advancing the rights of Indigenous women were developed to ensure effective protection of women's rights and to ensure equal access to justice for women who have suffered violence in accordance with states' obligations under international law. The Beijing Declaration, which agrees to take all appropriate measures to eliminate discrimination and violence against women and girls by any person, organization, or enterprise, and the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, which makes particular reference to eradicate violence against Indigenous women, are two international solutions that Canada committed to. We have the right to live free from violence. That right was given to us by our Creator and taken away by the government.